Today on CityCast Denver. In the wake of the shooting last Wednesday at East High School, hundreds of students from several Denver schools marched on the state capitol to demand change. They're asking for real, concrete actions to make our schools safer from gun violence. But are lawmakers listening? Last Friday, I spoke with two East High School sophomores who had just come back from the Capitol to hear what it's like to be a student in this moment and why they're not giving up on change. Today is Monday, March 27th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Clara and Gracie Taub, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How are you two feeling right now?
Well, it's been a few busy days. We went to the Capitol yesterday and today. We've been to school board meetings and we've talked to the mayor and the lieutenant governor and the governor's chief of staff, all about getting the bills that are currently on going through the legislation passed. Yeah, it's been kind of exhausting doing that, but it is really important work. And obviously we're coming from a perspective coming just out of a school shooting on Wednesday. People are listening to us. So I think it's very motivating to see that.
Yeah, this is Gracie. We're definitely overwhelmed. It's just like the fact that we have to be doing this after such a traumatic event is really frustrating. The fact that we even had this shooting at our school in the first place is really frustrating. We're really tired of it. We've been going to the Capitol because we want them to make some change. There are a couple bills. One of them is an expansion of the extreme risk protection order. That one may have actually changed the situation on Wednesday significantly because it would have allowed teachers to be these reporters who can petition a judge to take away a student's gun. This student was not able to have a gun legally, but if that restriction, that limitation would have been in place, systems like that are what really stops these events from happening. The fact that it happened, it is just a sign that right now our legislature is failing us.
I just want to clarify for folks who are listening, there's this bill in the House right now that says, or there's this bill that's in legislation right now that's hopefully moving through, but we don't know, that says more folks can report somebody for being a risk to themselves or others, and this new bill would say teachers could be included in that. So it sounds like you guys feel this could have been prevented maybe in some way if that law was in place already.
Yeah. It needed to be in place, a long time ago. Teachers being part of this would be really impactful. Mm-hmm. I also was just looking, Senator Chris Hansen and Senator Rhonda Fields are looking into introducing legislation on ghost guns in the next couple of weeks. And I think they're going to try to push for that to be passed before the end of the legislative session in May. From what I know, the student who shot two of our deans was in possession of a ghost gun when he was at a previous school. And so that piece of legislation could have been really impactful. And so we're really just looking for more from our legislators. Mm-hmm. Number one, we want these 5 bills that are currently moving through the Colorado Congress to be signed by the governor as soon as they get through. And then we want more bills after that.
Yeah.
So you both are members of this group, Students Demand Action, which has been organizing walkouts and protests against gun violence across the country. Can you both talk about why you wanted to take this step to get involved?
So we started East Students Demand Action, the chapter, last year. We're the co-presidents of that chapter. We wanted to get involved. We've both been interested in this issue for a while, but we hadn't been personally affected by it. And last year, we decided that it was an issue that we care about enough to actually start this. And we wouldn't have thought that it would come to this. This year alone, we've had 3 shootings in or around campus, and we've had a swatting threat that ended, with us being evacuated at gunpoint, our whole school. So it's now such an important issue just for our safety, like personally, that's why we're fighting and we're getting involved and we're planning all these marches and meetings at the Capitol.
Yeah, to add on to what Clara said, I mean, I've been interested in this issue since about fifth grade, after I think probably one of the things that spurred it was the Parkland shooting. And so we were both involved with organizing some walkouts at our old school in terms of the Parkland shooting. And so I guess what sparked my interest is the fact that, to me, it seems this issue is entirely solvable. And fortunately, it's just so politicized, which is really frustrating because, from our perspective, students dying, teachers being shot is not political. So we got involved before it had touched our community personally, at least from what we'd seen. But we were still interested. And it wasn't until after we started this club about a year ago that this issue really became so urgent and prevalent for the East community specifically.
Gracie, you're talking about organizing against gun violence when you were in middle school. I went to school and graduated before Columbine happened, so I kind of lived in the pre-Columbine world, and you guys are in this post-Columbine world. And I just wonder, I don't know, I can't imagine how it feels to say we want to organize against something and make sure we try to prevent these things from happening. And now you're in the middle of organizing it because it's happening to you. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels like a necessity rather than something I want to do. I don't want to spend my days like pleading with our leaders that they keep us safe. Like it's organizing events like this and doing stuff like this is incredibly stressful, especially as it involves, today was meant to be our mental health day. All of Denver Public Schools had a day off for mental health. Like, this is not a day. This is not how I would spend a day committed to protecting my mental health or prioritizing my mental health. Like, this is not the way this is not what students should be doing. This is not what students should be prioritizing. We have lives to live. We shouldn't have to be organizing. We shouldn't have to be fighting for these types of things, but we are, and that's an unfortunate reality. And we want lawmakers to understand that we're doing this. We're taking time out of our days, out of our lives, out of our high school careers to do this, and we really want them to acknowledge that and take action.
This episode is sponsored by New Era Colorado. New Era Colorado is a grassroots nonprofit organization that organizes young people through the political process to win on the youth agenda. Young people in Colorado have some of the highest voting rates in the country. We can decide the fate of our local elections. The April 4th Denver municipal election will be close, and your vote holds power. Democracy doesn't get more direct than this. Learn more at neweracolorado.org. So I love what you're creating this great picture for us to understand as adults. We're here, we say, oh, here's a mental health day, but you're spending your mental health day protesting and trying to get adults in legislative positions to listen to you. What was the experience like going to the Capitol? How did you feel talking to legislators about this?
Yeah, we've gone to the Capitol a couple times. We testified on a lot of these bills. And we went on March 3rd after Luis was shot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Going to the Capitol, it's definitely, I heard from a couple senators and representatives yesterday, like, they are not living in reality. It's under that dome. They are not in the real world. And that is definitely true. There's just so much partisanness in gun bills that if you really look at it and just the facts of it, it's lives that are at risk, not your Second Amendment, not, I don't know, your right to carry an AR-15. It's lives, like children's lives are at risk if you don't pass these. And we saw that on Wednesday with, like, if the expansion of the red flag laws, ERPO, was passed, like, that situation would have gone differently. So going there and talking to them, it is frustrating that we have to be there. But it's definitely very empowering to have people listen to us. And of course, we meet some senators and some representatives that are not on our side. They're not going to vote for these. And it's incredible to see a 16-year-old going up against a senator so respectfully, saying that this is a problem, and I know that you believe this and I believe this, but I think we can work together on this. It is incredible to see these young people just being so respectful and well-spoken and just have the ability to do this. Like, the lawmakers we talk to, some of them don't have the ability to actually speak with people in a respectful way. And it's incredible to see, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as it is frustrating, but it is really incredible.
How does it feel when you come up against a lawmaker that will look you in the face and I don't know what they say to you, but that don't think that what you're telling them is a real problem?
Yeah. We have just, I mean, I want to say like horror stories of the things we hear these legislators say that are just, it's like, these are the people we put in power. Like, these are the people we elect. I mean, we had yesterday students spoke with one of the legislators who doesn't support gun safety laws. And later that day, that legislator posted on Twitter, like, I just had this conversation, super rude teenagers. Like, how dare they? Like, I wasn't even part of the issue. I'm not the problem. And it's sort of like, they don't understand if, they are part of the problem. Their inaction is why we're here.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how even these legislators who have children who have to experience this can't wrap their heads around it. But that's sort of what we're really hoping for. We're hoping that our presence at the Capitol, our presence at City Hall, the teachers who are with us, which was just amazing today. We're hoping that showing really allows legislators to understand how prevalent this issue is. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't affecting us as much as it is.
Other than the bills that are in process right now, we've got these 4 bills that are doing a lot, that could potentially do a lot for gun control. Is there anything that you both are thinking about or something that you would really love to see change when it comes to guns, gun violence, and your school environment?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just the first step. This is baseline common sense. For these bills to actually be effective, we need to do more on licensing with people that sell guns. And then, so like knowing who those people are and then actually enforcing them to enforce the bills that the legislature is passing through. That's a big step, probably going to happen next session.
Yeah, permitting and licensing for sellers of guns.
Yeah. So that's like on a state level. I think on a more local level, we would love to see some school board action. They recently replaced SROs into the building until the end of the year. And I actually had the chance to talk to a school board member today at the Capitol, but finding some solutions other than SROs, because a lot of students don't feel comfortable with SROs in the building. And while that may make us safer, we do need to consider people's feeling of safety. So I was talking to her about getting liaisons from DPD in schools. So they're not SROs, but they are people that can advocate for schools. East High School, I know, calls 911 or non-emergency every day, and they spend an average of 30 minutes waiting for them. So having an SRO in the building does reduce response time to like 0 minutes, basically. But they also come with some problems. So having a liaison gives you that benefit, but takes away a lot of those problems. Also on a school board level and a little bit of a city level, we would love to see after school programs. Denver has, of course, the My Denver card. Right across our street is the rec center. It's the newest one in the city, but there's not a lot of planned events there. And an important part of reducing youth gun violence is just getting kids off the streets, like getting kids out of these dangerous situations where they might feel the need to have a gun. So having a program that gets kids off the streets.
Yeah, those are all important too. And at the same time, we're hoping I mean, from a national level, we could go on and on about what the country could do, but they're hoping that, you know, the state, since there is a gun sense majority, hoping that they can continue to do this work. So, like I was saying, I'm hoping a law regulating ghost guns. I think that's just so urgent and important and clear that we need that. I'm also looking into like, and it sounds like there was some chatter about this in the beginning of the legislative session, but it didn't end up happening. But something around liability for gun owners. So, you know, one way to do that is with insurance, but there are other ways to do that as well. So that's another thing I'd like to see. And then I'd like to see more around really focusing on the gun industry. I think the gun industry is unbelievably powerful in the United States. And that, I think, is a driving factor, because ultimately, you know, what Clara's mentioning with these after school programs and these SROs, those are like one part of the problem, but ultimately the root cause is guns. There are too many guns in the United States. And so we need to really address that. I think going all the way back to the beginning at gun manufacturers allows us to target both guns that are bought legally and those that are bought illegally. So then that brings me to nationally, I think we need to end PLACA, which is the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which prevents citizens from filing civil lawsuits against gun manufacturers. If that was allowed to happen, gun manufacturers could be held accountable for who they sell to, how they're selling that, who they're marketing to. For example, they should not be allowed to market a JR-15 to teenagers. Like, that is not okay. But that's a real thing that's happening. Like, that needs to not be a thing. So I think I'd really love to see something that targets gun manufacturers.
I really want to go back just to the SROs conversation really quickly, because both of you had mentioned it. So in the aftermath of the most recent shooting at your school this week, Superintendent Marrero was like, okay, I'm going to put SROs back in school tomorrow. I know that you've kind of expressed that there's two sides to that coin, but do you feel like this was is this what you wanted from him? Was there anything else? What did you think when he said that?
Yeah. SROs have been a problematic topic, especially in our district, because, as I'm sure you know, the school board took them out kind of as a political decision without consulting any of the schools. And they replaced them. There were 18 SROs. Most of them were people of color, and they replaced them with 6 mental health professionals. All of those people were white, and all of them are off campus. So it's been an interesting discussion to have. I was at the school board meeting yesterday, and they are definitely getting a lot of heat for flip-flopping really quickly on this. I personally don't. I think it's the right decision, especially because we've had so many incidents this year. I would have liked to see some more action early on. We've had 3 shootings this year, and we've had a swatting incident, and all of those things could have been dramatically changed if we had an SRO. But again, I'm speaking, just acknowledging the bias that I have. I am a white woman, so SROs are not affecting me as they affect my peers. And I think that is a very important part of this conversation. And a lot of people that go to our school do not feel comfortable with SROs or police. And that is an important conversation to have. Mm-hmm. So like, going back to an alternative, like liaisons from DPD or something like that, that would be, I think, better. But really what SROs are is they're just another adult in the building that can be trusted. Like, that is the main goal of them. Yeah. We need to go about that a different way, and how that can be very effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think with appropriate reforms, if not an SRO, an adult in the building whose job is to protect, I mean, that is definitely something that we support. Yeah, I mean, they need to be reformed in ways that address the concerns. I mean, to me, our deans, who we walk by, you know, every morning, we said hello to both of them that morning, the ones who were shot, like, they should not be tasked with searching a possibly armed student. Like, that to me is the most urgent thing that needs to be addressed. The fact that there was not someone in the building, that part of the plan was not thought about by the school board clearly.
Yeah.
That to me is the biggest issue. And so whoever it is, somebody's job who's trained, who has the capacity to handle that situation more than our deans did, like, needs to be assigned with that job. That is, I think, the thing that reintroducing them will cover. However, yeah, there needs to be major reforms, I think, to make all students feel safe, because there's not a consensus on how they make students feel. And so that needs to be addressed.
So I wonder, in all the work you're doing and these experiences that you're having in this world that you have been growing up in your whole lives, do you feel hopeful at all that big change could happen in Colorado, which is a place where gun violence has become our norm?
Yeah, I'm getting pretty hopeful about that, actually.
Me too.
I think it's actually going to happen. I mean, we are seeing just a massive amount of momentum from students, especially. And even though school shootings are not the majority of gun deaths, people listen to students. I mean, if we went to the Capitol yesterday, and that perspective of, like, we were just in a school shooting, we were just in lockdown, we're here now, you need to do something. That perspective is unique to students. And I think because of that perspective and because of just the sheer number of students that are going through this right now, I do think that change is actually gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm also hopeful, partly because despite the fact that East High School has been in national news for the past year for the violence that has plagued our community, we as people within that community feel like it's so much more than that. Like, I'm so grateful to belong to a community that is so supportive. Our administration, our principal, our teachers have been there for us the whole way. And that's one of the reasons that I feel really hopeful. I despite everything that's happened, I feel like we can get somewhere. I mean, that's not to say I'm not frustrated with the slow progress, but I'm hopeful, for the future.
This has been so helpful, you guys. I really appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. And you're giving me, and I think a lot of other adults that don't have experience with this, the perspective that we need to know that stuff needs to change yesterday.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to see this happen anymore. Is there anything else you would like adults to know that we seem to be missing in this conversation?
Just make sure to vote. We got an election coming up.
Vote.
I can't vote, so vote for me.
Vote. Please.
Yeah.
Well, Clara and Gracie Taub, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell your local lawmaker about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.